Have you ever wondered why there are men at the age of 70 or 80 who remain sharp, healthy, with eyes blazing with fire, living each day to the fullest, while others, barely 60, already feel themselves slowing down, tired, as if gradually retreating from the game? The secret sometimes does not lie in the gym, nor in a strict diet, but in something that very few dare to speak of, and even more rarely mentioned to older men. I know, just hearing this word will make many feel embarrassed or think that that matter is already over. But if I told you that maintaining it the right way could make your brain sharper, your heart healthier, your bones stronger, and even extend your lifespan, would you want to know? The truth is, there are 7 mistakes that many gentlemen after the age of 60 are making when taking care of themselves in this matter. Mistakes that silently erode health, causing the body to decline faster without you even realizing it. We will not speak of shame, but of truth, of how to keep the body and mind in their best state, even as age increases. And believe me, after you hear it all, you may look at your old age with completely different eyes. So, will you dare to step with me through the veil of silence to discover it? When we were young, our bodies were like powerful machines. Just one spark and everything lit up. But then, past 60, many men begin to feel that lamp grow dim. Not because it has gone out, but because we have forgotten to add oil. I have met more than a few who came to the clinic with clouded, sad eyes, saying, "I no longer feel like a man." When I asked deeper, I realized they had neglected a very important part, the intimate connection with their own body. Sexual self-care, or to put it more simply, knowing how to keep your own fire alive, is not just about pleasure. It is a way to help the body remember how to operate its hormones, to keep blood flowing strongly to the brain, heart, bones, and to those sensitive areas that age tends to forget. When we do this, the body returns the favor with testosterone that strengthens muscles and bones, oxytocin that calms the nerves, and endorphins that sweep away aches and pains, helping us sleep more soundly. There is a man I know, over 70, who once said, "At this age, that no longer means anything." Yet after one candid conversation, he tried setting aside time for his body, not for desire, but for health. 6 months later, he came back with a rosy face, telling me he had given up sleeping pills, repaired his old car in the garage with his own hands, and most importantly, felt alive again. The sad thing is, many still think that caring for oneself in this aspect is shameful or childish. But I believe this is part of comprehensive health care, just like eating a healthy diet or taking a morning walk. No one laughs at you for taking vitamins, so why be ashamed when you preserve such a precious source of energy? Old age does not mean fading away. It only becomes dark when we allow the body to forget the feeling of living fully. If you're reading these lines, ask yourself, have you truly listened to your body and given it what it needs? If not, perhaps it is time to begin again, gently, respectfully, and without judging yourself. Because health, joy, and confidence at this age are still in your hands. I still clearly remember an elderly man of 68, thin in build, walking into my clinic with a half-joking, half-serious remark, "Doctor, I think my body is in hibernation." Upon asking, I learned that since his wife's passing, he had almost completely cut off all sexual activity, not just with others, but even with himself. He believed that at his age, that matter no longer had meaning. But it was precisely this stopping that had made his body sluggish, his memory poor, and his sleep restless. This is not rare. Many studies have shown that maintaining sexual activity, whether with a partner or alone, brings deep, wide-ranging effects to both physical and mental health. When you maintain physical intimacy, blood is pumped more powerfully throughout the body, the brain receives more oxygen, and the heart is exercised in a way that no physical workout can replace. The immune system is also activated, helping to fight off illness. On a more delicate note, the pelvic region, which easily suffers muscle atrophy and weakness with age, is also trained to maintain bladder control and prevent prostate problems. A study from Finland, tracking men aged 55 to 75 over 5 years, showed that those who maintained regular sexual activity had a lower risk of heart disease, and their memory and ability to concentrate were also superior. But the benefits do not stop at the body. Sexual activity helps the body release oxytocin, the hormone of bonding, erasing feelings of loneliness and increasing connection with oneself. I have seen many men, after reconnecting with their bodies, become more open, more cheerful, and their eyes shine as if they have found a lost part of themselves. The important thing is, this is not a race to regain the prowess of your 20s. It is a way to live fully at your current age, stronger, more confident, and with a more solid state of health. Sexual activity in old age, if maintained safely, is not a luxury or selfishness, but a wise choice for longevity and quality of life. Have you ever asked yourself, if there were just one small act that could make your heart healthier, your memory sharper, your spirit happier, why wouldn't you try it? If you still hesitate, let me tell you real stories to show that this is entirely within your reach, even when you're past 60. One thing I have realized after many years of speaking with gentlemen over 60 is this: most do not give up his sexual self-care because their bodies can no longer do it, but because of psychology. These invisible barriers often come from words deeply imprinted since childhood. Decent men don't do such things. Old men must be proper, or at your age, still doing that? Shameful. Over time, such teachings become a wall in the mind, stopping them from touching a natural and healthy part of themselves. I once met a man in his 70s, neatly dressed, speaking slowly. When I asked about his sex life, he smiled awkwardly. "Doctor, that's for the young now. At my age, doing that would embarrass me in front of my children." But behind that smile, I saw a quiet sadness. He admitted he often had trouble sleeping, felt mentally low, became irritable, and at times felt as if he were fading away. The truth was, not that he didn't want to, but that he feared being judged, feared being seen as not serious. Social barriers are no less heavy. Many live with children or in crowded environments, always feeling watched. Just one glance or a teasing remark is enough to make them withdraw, closing the door on their natural needs. And when you deny yourself for a long time, your body gradually loses sensitivity, hormones decline more quickly, and your spirit grows dim. The truth is, your body does not care about age when it comes to the need for connection and pleasure. It only knows that when fulfilled, it becomes healthier and happier. But society and prejudice teach us to remain silent. I believe it is time to break this silence, not to boast or flaunt, but to return to ourselves the right to be fully cared for, even in the most intimate aspect. If you are listening and see yourself in these stories, I want you to know this. You're not strange. You're not too old for it. You simply carry within you a deeply human need, and sometimes just a nod to yourself can open the door for health, joy, and vitality to return. Do you feel this invisible wall inside yourself? If you do, tell me, so we can work together to remove it brick by brick and give freedom back to your later years. I want to tell you about John. Of course, that is not his real name, but the story is completely true. John is 72, once a skilled mechanical engineer who spent his life with numbers and machines. His wife passed away a few years ago, and since then the house had become empty, and so had he. When he first stepped into my clinic, John said he had no interest in anything. In the mornings, he would sit for hours, staring out the window. His body felt tired, his spirit dull. He said, "Doctor, I don't feel like a man anymore." When I asked about his sex life, John almost blushed. He admitted that for years he had not touched his own body, partly thinking that at his age that no longer had meaning, and partly fearing the judgment of his children. I explained that reconnecting with himself through intimacy was neither selfish nor shameful, but part of total health care, just like eating well or exercising. I told him, "Your body still needs to operate fully, whether you're 30 or 70. John listened, then decided to try. He began with small steps, setting aside time for himself, learning to feel his body again, allowing himself not to be burdened by prejudice. 6 months later, John returned to my clinic, and I barely recognized him. His steps were brisk, his eyes bright, his voice full of energy. He smiled and said, "Doctor, you know what? I feel alive again." His blood pressure had dropped, he was sleeping deeply, and most importantly, he had returned to an old passion, repairing the vintage car in his garage. John's story is not an exception. I have witnessed many men who, by reconnecting with their bodies, changed both their mental state and their health. It is not magic. It is simply the body's natural response to proper care. The only thing that had stopped them before was silence and stigma. Science may sometimes sound dry, but when applied to life, it becomes vivid. Especially when speaking of sexual health in old age, many still think that is just a fleeting pleasure. But in reality, our bodies react more strongly and positively than you might imagine. Picture this. Every time you care for yourself or are intimate with your partner, your body begins a hormone feast. Testosterone rises to maintain muscle mass, strong bones, and abundant energy. Oxytocin soothes the nervous system, reducing stress. Endorphins act as natural painkillers, sweeping away lingering aches. Not only that, this activity stimulates blood circulation, allowing the brain to receive more oxygen, improving focus and memory. A study from the University of California even showed that maintaining regular sexual activity can slow the progression of memory decline and reduce the risk of dementia. For the heart, it is a gentle yet effective form of exercise, helping it pump more strongly and keeping blood vessels flexible. As for the prostate, a major concern for many men, science has a clear answer. A Harvard study found that men who ejaculated about 21 times a month had up to 1/3 lower risk of prostate cancer compared to those who did so less often. This is not rumor. It is data from thousands of cases tracked over many years. But the benefits do not stop with the body. Mentally, sexual activity helps reduce loneliness and increase connection with oneself and with others. Many of my patients, after maintaining this habit, became happier, more confident, and even slept more deeply, something not everyone past 60 can easily achieve. The important thing is, none of these benefits require you to be as strong as you were at 20, as long as you maintain it safely, regularly, and in a way that suits your current body. Science is on your side. So, if someone tells you that is meaningless at this age, just smile, because you know your body and mind are benefiting from a natural, healthy habit. Are you surprised that science supports what society so often avoids? If you still have doubts, let me share clearer evidence, so you can see that old age can still be lived to the fullest if we know how to embrace this natural gift. There are mental tonics no pill can match. and maintaining intimate connection with your own body is one of them. Once past 60, many men begin to shrink their world. Less socializing, less activity, fewer moments just for themselves. They think this is the law of aging. But in truth, it is forgetting natural feelings and pleasures that dries out the spirit. I have met many gentlemen coming to my clinic with tired looks, lifeless eyes. They tell me they often feel sad for no reason, sleep poorly, and find each day heavy. When I suggested reconnecting with their body, not for mere desire but for mental health, many hesitated, then slowly understood. They tried, and the result was a clear change. They smiled more, spoke more freely, and most importantly, they felt alive again. The reason is simple. When we touch our most intimate self, the body releases oxytocin, the hormone of bonding and safety. Endorphins soothe the mind, dissolving gray clouds of sadness. Above all, the act reminds you that you're still a whole human being, still entitled to joy at any age. It is like a small lamp in the night, lighting up a room you thought you had learned to live in darkness. I remember a patient named Robert, 68, widowed, living alone. When he came to me, he looked like he had given up on joy. After just a few months of self-care in this way, he returned with eyes wet with emotion, saying, "Doctor, I didn't know I'd been missing the feeling of being human for so long." For him, this was not about sex. It was about reclaiming identity, reclaiming warmth in life. Old age brings many changes, but that does not mean your emotions must grow cold. You can still nourish your soul, so that each morning you wake feeling light and worthy. And sometimes, just one small act is enough to remind you that you are still living a complete life. Do you feel that you are missing this flame? If so, try allowing yourself to welcome it, because perhaps what you need to feel happier at this age has been within your reach all along. Old age is not a full stop. It is simply a new chapter, one you can completely write in your own way. I know that throughout this talk, we have touched on a subject many have long been reluctant to discuss. But you see, when we strip away the silence, we realize caring for sexual life, even if it is only with yourself, is not shameful. It is part of total health care, where the physical, mental, and emotional are nourished together. You have heard true stories, seen scientific evidence, and witnessed the wonderful changes in those who dared to give themselves a chance. They did not seek to return to youth. They simply chose to live fully in the present, with healthier hearts, clearer minds, and brighter spirits. You deserve the same. Whether you are 60, 70, or 80, your body still listens to every signal, still appreciates every time you give it the right care. And I want you to remember, you are not alone on this journey. Out there are many just like you, people who once believed old age meant decline, until they opened the door back to vitality. If you remember only one thing from me today, let it be this. Age does not measure your worth. The way you live defines you. If you have ever felt the things I've spoken of, or have questions or concerns, share them with me in the comments. I read each one, and it is your stories that give meaning to these words. If today's message touched you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Not so I gain another number, but so that each time there's a new talk, you know you still have a place to return to listen, and to find understanding. Let's keep walking together as friends, learning to live healthy, happy, and with purpose, no matter the age. For an old age that is not just longer, but more beautiful. And who knows, the next story I tell may be yours.